Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Cooking Without Kidneys. Here to help people who are on dialysis not just survive but thrive through food. I'm your host, Chef David Pollock, and today we're going to be making a braised lamb shank. Now, why would we do something like braised lamb shanks or braised pork or any kind of braised long-term dish? Essentially, it's something that we could set up the day ahead and then put into the oven when we get home from dialysis or before we go to dialysis because it takes so long to cook. I personally like lamb shanks. They take about 4 hours in the oven, and we're just going to get a deep, rich flavor. It's going to be not a lot added to it, and it'll be layered very, very, very well. So as you can see, we have our lamb here ready to go. We have some fresh herbs, and I'm just going to start off by getting these bad boys all chopped together. You know, like I said, we're just doing a little of oregano, a little thyme, a little bit of parsley. You could add mint, you could add basil, you can add all sorts of different things to this, especially with lamb. Lamb tends to be a little sweeter than, say, doing a braised beef or a pot roast or anything of that nature. So you could do things like mint with lamb. You could do things a little bit sweeter, you know, doing a lot of citrus and things of that nature, but we're avoiding those things. And all I really want from this is the leaves. I really don't need or want the stems. All right, so we got a nice little chop on that. That's ready to go. We have our veg ready to go, our lamb. We have a little bit of flour. Now this isn't one of the only times you're going to see me use salt. Flour has a little bit of salt and pepper. We're going to roll the lamb in the flour, salt, and pepper, get a nice sear on that. And of course, we have a little bit of kale, and our black-eyed peas are actually back on the stove. They're already cooking. Now, here's the thing about black-eyed peas. They are high potassium, but similar to a potato, we soaked it overnight, changing the water a couple of times, and we're boiling them separate. They're going to get strained, and then they're going to get added just before the entire dish goes into the oven. So let's go over and let's get started. Okay, so we have our lamb over here, our veg, okay, our black-eyed peas are on the back burner. They're already cooking away. And we have a pan with some canola oil in it, and we're just getting this nice and hot. We're just going to take our lamb, roll it into flour. This is going to actually help it get a really nice crust. There we go. All right, so we're making sure our lamb is well coated in flour. We just want to give it a few minutes so that way we get a really nice sear on it all the way around. That way we really start to bring out the flavor and we get a nice crust. Also, it'll help to thicken the sauce as it cooks. Okay, now that we got our lamb seared all the way around, as you can see, we got some nice crispy brown everywhere. We're going to put that right into our pot. This whole pot is actually going to go right into the oven, and this is going to take 3 or 4 hours to cook. That's why I'm saying it's a perfect dish to do a day ahead of time, and that way you don't have to think about it when you're on the machine. You just have to put it in, and it's done by the time you come home. And we don't want to lose any of that fat or any of that flavor. Now that's the dark that's coming up on the veg. That's actually from the flour itself. It's going to make for a really rich sauce. While this is cooking, we're going to strain off our black-eyed peas. Now, you really just want to have these just cooked through. They're nice and soft and tender. They're good and ready to go. We're going to add our cup of port wine. And like I said, lamb is a sweet dish. So personally, I really like using like a port. You could use a Zinfandel or a which is really heavy and hearty. It also could go with a Sauvignon. I'm going to give this a second to kind of simmer together. And this gets poured right over top. We don't want to lose all the flavor of the pan. That's chicken stock. It's about 2 cups worth. We're going to bring that up to a boil. And once that comes to a boil, then that's it. We're done. We're going to put that into the pan. We're going to put our black-eyed peas and kale in there, cover it, put it in the oven, and we'll see what it looks like in 4 hours. All right, so our chicken stock is at a nice roll, nice boil. Got all that flavor in there. That could get poured right over top. And we're done. At this point, we're going to add our black-eyed peas, which is going to help to thicken the sauce also. It's going to absorb a lot of the moisture. And our kale. Our oven is already set to 325, okay? We're just going to take our herbs and dust them right over top. Going to cover it, and this entire pot goes right into the oven. And we'll check that in about 4 hours to see what that looks like. All right, let's check our lamb and see how it's doing. Oh, look at that. Our pot went from silver to red. We actually took the liberty and cooked it off, cooked a couple off ahead of time, just to show you guys what this looks like. And there you go. Nice and hot. The lamb is literally falling right off the bone. So we want to be very, very careful with this. You can see how it's starting to fall. And now all we got to do is plate. This is literally a one-pot meal. I mean, how can you not beat this? As you can see, like I said, I wasn't kidding. The lamb is literally falling off the bone. Isn't that gorgeous? Here you guys go. This is my braised lamb with black-eyed peas, kale, as well as carrot, celery, and onions. Enjoy. I know I did. Hey guys, we just got done having our delicious lamb shanks. Now it's time to move on to dessert, and nothing gets simpler than a strawberry blueberry tartlet, okay? Now you could buy tart shells at the store, but we decided that we were actually going to turn around and make our own using a basic tart dough, which is nothing more than eggs, flour, shortening, a pinch of salt, okay? Doesn't necessarily need to be sweet. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our dough, we're going to roll it out, and with this time we want to try to roll it out into as much of a circle as possible. All right, and then we're going to take it and press it into our shell. Now, depending on the kind of tartlet you're making, you know, you could actually let it puff up when it goes into the oven. You can fork it, or you can put beans into it, or any kind of dry like legume, and that'll keep it from puffing also. Me personally, I just like to press it into my container. I'll use a fork or a knife. And we just want to poke a bunch of holes into it. It will cook together. It's not going to leak out the bottom when we add other things to it. But what that'll do is it'll help keep the bubbles from forming to begin with. Okay? Now we're going to pop this into our 400-degree oven. And that's going to take about 10 minutes. Now while that's cooking, we're going to get started on our strawberries. Now these have all already been washed. Okay, you want to make sure you wash all your fruit when it comes in, just because of the amount of dust from travel and anything else that may actually come from it. Now there's a couple different ways we could do this. We could actually sit here, take our fruit, layer it, make a gelatin topping, and coat it in gelatin and call it a day. I personally like to have everything cooked. I think it sweetens the flavor. I think it makes everything come together a little nicer. Our strawberries are all sliced. We have our berries, we have Grand Marnier, we have some ginger, we have some grape juice, as well as a little bit of agave and a little bit of water mixed in with that. And of course, some butter. Take it over to the stove and let's get started. All right, so we're over here at our stove range. Let's take a quick look in the oven so we can see where we're at. Okay, so we're not quite done yet. A couple minutes though, should be set and ready to go. So this pot's heating up. I'm going to put a tablespoon of butter in there. And in this other pot over here, this is just nothing but water, and we're going to make our gelatin in this one. We're just going to start to heat that up. So we're going to add a little bit of ginger to this. Ginger and berries really do go very well together. The ginger provides the spice, the berries provide the sugar, and we're also going to add a little agave, and that'll actually help to balance things out. Now we're going to add our strawberries. You can just smell how fragrant the ginger is, but we don't want to get any color on it. And the cool thing about berries is they have a natural pectin, which will actually help to thicken the sauce as it is. As you can see, the juices are starting to come out of our strawberries. Notice I didn't add the blueberries at the same time. I don't want everything completely broken down. In fact, our blueberries we're going to add at the very end. Now we're going to add a little Grand Marnier. Grand Marnier is a orange liqueur. There is no nutrient value as far as potassium when it comes to this. This is just a natural sugar. Okay, and now we're going to give that a minute to cook out. And like I said, you know, you can see how it's starting to create its own sauce. I didn't add any thickeners to this. This is natural from the pectin of the strawberry. Now we're going to add our agave and water and our grape juice. You can see that's naturally thickening itself. Check our shell. Ooh, almost there. We're going to add our blueberries. We're going to take a few minutes and just let this cook. So as you can see, we have this all set. Now it wasn't tightening quite as much as I wanted it to, so I added a little bit of cornstarch and water mixed together to give it the body that I wanted to have in the hold. Okay, so this is actually all set and ready to go. And on top of that, this is our gelatin. Literally, it's 1 cup of water to 1 packet of gelatin, and this is actually going to go right over top as a nice light coating. It's used as an actual preserve in medieval times to ensure that things don't go rancid or go bad. Nowadays, we use it on top of desserts and things of that nature. It gives it a nice glaze, it gives it a nice shine. Come on over and let's finish plating the dessert. Alright guys, so it's time to start plating our dessert, and as you can see, this is the one that actually came out of the oven. These are the 2 that were done earlier. As you can see, by poking the holes into the dough itself, it actually prevented it from really puffing up at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to fill our tart shells. And this is our strawberry and blueberry mix. And as this cools down, it's going to thicken and tighten. Strawberries are nice and broken down. And really, this just made a really phenomenal sauce. And we're going to take this, and I like topping things off with fresh fruit, fresh herbs, you know, just before putting the gelatin over top and laying the whole thing entirely cool. So I got some fresh basil and a little bit of fresh mint. Basil and berries go phenomenal together. Like fresh basil and mint with mixed berries, doing like a zabaione kind of deal. I've used fresh basil because of how sweet it is in cheesecakes and things of that nature too. It works out very, very nice. So we got a nice chiffonade basil here and mint. And we're just going to take some of our strawberries. I don't like keeping these on just because, you know, though they can be edible, nobody really wants to eat that. So we're making some nice little strawberry fans to go across the center of each one of our tarts. And as you can see, I'm just folding it over to the side and fanning them out. So this way you can see every aspect. All right, and that's 3. A little fresh blueberry on each. A little bit of fresh basil and mint. The cool thing is that the gelatin or the aspic, whichever you want to call it, will actually preserve it. So it'll actually keep its color longer. We're just taking a little bit of gelatin right over top. So we're just going to let this set overnight, okay? And by tomorrow, this is going to be thick and rich and decadent. So enjoy. Thank you for joining us today on Cooking Without Kidneys. I'm so glad you were here to play with some lamb shanks as well as make some strawberry blueberry tartlets from scratch. Join us next time where we take a trip to Little Italy to make some arancini balls as well as some port wine poached pears. Have a great night, everybody.